breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty. Mornings on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
On the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline this morning, Superintendent of Education for the state of Louisiana, Dr. Cade Brumley, joining us. Good morning, Dr. Brumley.
Hey, happy Tuesday. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. The state, of course, recently banned cell phones just across the board in schools in the state of Louisiana. Has there been any positive impact of banning the cell phones? Have we even seen a difference?
Yeah, look, so I think there's a growing body of data showing that students having the cell phones while they're in their normal school day is problematic both for academics and for some of their mental health. And I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. And so last legislative session had some conversations with some lawmakers, and here we are. Louisiana has a law in place that prohibits the usage of cell phones during the school day. And guys, I'll be pretty candid, and I'll tell you, I thought that this would be a real challenge to implement, and I thought we would have a ton of pushback. But it's gone really well. I just had a conversation with a group of teachers on my state superintendent teacher advisory council, and the way in which they were describing it was really exciting. You know, they said odd things are happening, like kids are talking to each other at lunch.
Mm-hmm.
One teacher said, "Look, I'm having to plan for additional content during my classes because we're able to cover more information.
Wow.
Because the students aren't as distracted." So, I mean, I tell you frankly here that kind of across the board. Now we've heard of a few instances here and there, but really across the board, we're hearing positive things about this prohibition.
But it also, the impact of this TikTok mentality, this 8-second attention span. Yeah. Maybe we can retrain the younger brains to be able to focus longer.
Yeah, look, I probably had 15 different school systems represented with the teachers on my council last week. And with the exception of one system, like all the teachers were talking about how much they appreciated this prohibition and how positive that they felt like it was for the kids. Look, you and none of us had a cell phone whenever we were in high school, and we made it. And look, I understand the nature of today. It's relative. I understand the nature of today's society and wanting kids to be safe, and it's a new world in terms of that. But I do think cell phones have also prompted behavioral issues because of things like cyberbullying. Yeah. So there are offsets there. But look, we've been pretty pleased with implementation, and I've shared with a couple of groups. Wouldn't it be something if we saw academic outcomes in high schools and middle schools jump by several percentage points? And I don't know that we could say, oh, it was absolutely the cell phones, but I think that certainly with what we're hearing from teachers saying kids are more engaged, they're on task a little more, that certainly it would warrant additional exploration.
Cade, sorry, Dr. Brumley, let me ask you this, because we're hearing from a few schools who say they're bending the rules a smidge, like letting the kids have them at lunch. What do you say to those schools, those principals?
Well, first of all, I would say that we've put in place a number of policies this year, passed laws, passed policies, to further solidify an orderly and peaceful classroom and campus environment. Whether it's the cell phone prohibition, whether it's the rules around if you have an overly disruptive student that is habitually causing problems in the classroom, or when you have an ungovernable student, getting them out of the classrooms, getting them off the school campus, giving the teachers more autonomy and the principals more autonomy to deal with behavior issues. Like we have passed a set of laws and regulations to make the classroom and campus more orderly and peaceful. But it's all dependent on local leaders implementing those plans. And so I would say to make sure they're having conversations with their principals and their system leaders to make sure that these provisions that have been passed are being implemented. We can't and we shouldn't go around the state to check every school system to see if they're implementing the cell phone law. It's a Louisiana law. They should implement it. But it is dependent on that local level taking it seriously.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Cade Brumley, Superintendent of Education. This is very intriguing to me. A lot of, teachers complain, look, all we get to do is teach for testing. But you are going to be presenting steps to actually reduce state testing? That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, you guys are this should show you how much I appreciate and admire you all. You're getting this before anyone else. I haven't even stated this publicly. But today at our meeting of the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, I'm going to announce an effective immediately plan to reduce state testing in grades 3 through 8 by 30%. So we're going to take immediate steps to reduce the amount of time that kids are taking state tests. We can reduce it by 30% this year without impacting the quality of results. We think it's really important that we get good results and know where students are academically. And we think we can do that. But we also think we can do that by reducing the amount of times that kids are testing.
So will they skip some tests? Will the tests be shorter? Help me with that.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So look, we think with our English test, for instance, English test in grades 3 through 8, they have a number of different writing prompts, and we are going to make a reduction there, as well as some of the constructed response questions and multiple choice type questions. We can remove some of the items because what happens now is we test some of the same standards over and over again. So, for instance, if we're trying to determine if a student understands a particular concept, there may not just be 2 questions that test that. There may be 4 or 5. And so we've worked with psychometricians, some of the best psychometricians around the country, to determine if we can reduce the amount of time our students are testing or reduce the amount of time students are testing and still get reliable and valid results. And our psychometricians are telling us absolutely you can. So we're going to put this into effect immediately for this school year and reduce the amount of time that kids are taking LEAP tests.
Wow, you just answered my next question. So you're going to implement this immediately?
Yeah, we're not going to wait. Look, we don't want kids to sit in a classroom testing for unreasonable amounts of time. We value tests. We think we learn a lot from that. It drives instructional and policy decisions. But if we can do that in less time, we should. And so I put my team on finding a way, and I believe we found a way. And so we're going to immediately reduce time testing by 30% on LEAP. And it's just the beginning. We think we can do more work moving forward, but we have to do it in a reasonable way. We have to be surgical with it because we need to make sure that we're getting good results so that we know where students are academically.
How many days do we typically use for LEAP testing now? Is it a full week? Can you give me an idea?
Yeah, I mean, that's really difficult to answer because it's not necessarily that a student would test for a whole week, but because the tests are done on computers mostly, and that helps us turn around results. It just, like a school may have to set aside a whole week because they have to, have the time to have individual students go through a computer lab or the amounts of devices that they have to use them. And so it's different in each individual school. We basically provide a window and say, look, you have between this day and this day to do these LEAP tests. And then the schools determine, the days that they want to use to do that.
Now, you mentioned this is grades 3 through 8. What about high school? Are there any plans?
Yeah, look, so this is where I'm saying I want the public to bear with me here. I think that we're doing the right thing. I think we're doing a pretty aggressive thing by doing an immediate 30% reduction in 3.8. But we've got to be smart, and we've got to take the time to make sure we're doing it right. And so we can do this now. We're going to be exploring future reductions moving forward. But this is where we are now, and we're going to start here.
Shifting gears to more local, if you don't mind. Keith Burton is now superintendent of Caddo Schools. Have you and he had a conversation since he took over? What's kind of his marching orders from you?
Well, look, I want to support Mr. Burton. He's a quality educator. We've known each other for a long time, have worked together. I will do everything to help the Caddo Parish system be successful. It's personal for me. And I just hope that as he goes to work every single day, he's thinking about, how can I make sure that students in this system are safe? How can I make sure that we're executing on the most basic functions of schooling, which is teaching kids to read and do math, having meaningful high school experiences, making sure that students are ready beyond graduation, making sure parents have an option for a quality school. And I just want parents in Caddo Parish to know that every day when they send their kid to school that they're safe and that they're going to get a quality education. And so whatever I can do to help Mr. Burton on that, I will do. We've known each other for a long time, have a good relationship, and I want to help him. I want to help him be successful.
Well, that's exciting. There's sounds like a lot of good things happening, and we appreciate you taking the time to share that with us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me, and hopefully next time I'm up, we can do this in studio.
Would love it, yes.
Come by and see us.
Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Kate Brumley, Superintendent of Education. Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Back to the show with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty, and on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline, David Howell, the supply director of the Cajun Navy Relief. David, first of all, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for talking with us. You guys are hot and heavy in relief efforts for Hurricane Helene. And what are some of the most pressing needs that you see, especially in the Carolinas? And how can people locally lend a hand?
Well, there's a lot of ways that people are helping right now with efforts. One of the biggest things we're seeing is cold weather gear. As hurricane has impacted all of these people, that weather is starting to turn. We're looking at temperatures getting into the 30s here soon at night. These people have lost everything. They don't have that warm weather gear that they would normally have for those colder temperatures. So doing donations for that, I know at the moment we are working with a couple of different organizations in the Louisiana area to do supply drives, do drop points where we can then transport the supplies up to the area affected and get those supplies to the people.
People that want to donate, what's the best way, the most efficient way?
Well, there's two really good ways to donate. The first one is to fill out one of the donation tickets if you want to donate supplies on our website, and that's CajunNavyRelief.org. The other way is to donate money. Any money that we're receiving at the moment, we're trying to push back into these communities so that we can then help them in the long-term efforts of rebuilding and getting back to normal.
David, do you find we've heard reports where relief efforts are actually being hindered by federal regulations? Buttigieg said no drones being flown in the area, and I know in the past they've actually discouraged the Cajun Navy from going into disaster hit areas. Are you finding any kickback from the federal government?
At this moment, we're not seeing any kickback from the federal government. We're, working there with the locals. A lot of them are welcoming us into the area because they know that we're bringing the supplies, we're bringing the expertise of how to deal with a natural disaster of this magnitude. We do know that for a time they were discouraging the use of drones because they were still operating in a rescue manner. And with that, they're wanting to get the helicopters in and not have to worry about drones.
How devastating is it? You've been there. Your crews have been there. How bad is it?
So it's bad. For most hurricanes, when they hit the Gulf Coast, we're looking at storm surge and we're looking at flooding over tens and hundreds of miles. Right here, you're looking at that same flooding in only a couple of 100 feet. It is channeling that water. It is getting just extreme velocity as it's coming down these ravines, wiping everything out in the process. And then we have that contaminated mud that we're dealing with. Some of these areas are having to get almost full hazmat suits on to clear out some of this mud because of the contamination.
We know that there are still hundreds are missing. Have you come across and been able to affect any rescue efforts?
So we've been running welfare checks since 24 hours after the storm, working in these areas, trying to walk in, hike in, ATV in, drive in, and check on people and get word out to their family that they are okay, because cell signal is still very spotty and we're not seeing that they're able to reach out. At the moment, that's all we're doing is working welfare checks. We're not actively working rescues. However, I am aware that they have been doing some rescues as late as Saturday.
Still need water, basic necessities. Those things are still needed?
So at the moment, a lot of people are, we've been bringing water in for a week. So water is not an issue. We're more looking at that long-term need of cleaning up and then the cold weather gear. That is the biggest need I'm hearing from every distribution center right now, is new clothes and ways for people to stay warm, whether that's heaters or Mylar blankets or sleeping bags, anything that they can use to stay warm at night.
CajunNavyRelief.com. You'll also have an Amazon wish list page on your Facebook. You can get the link to that where you can find out specifics that you guys are needing, right?
Absolutely. We have that Amazon wish list. If you go on and order something from there, it gets sent to one of our members, and we get it transported into the area.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. I've seen that used in other efforts. That's a great idea, a great way to do that. David Howell, Supply Director of the Cajun Navy Relief, thank you so much for talking with us this morning. Please stay safe. And, I guess you're getting ready for Milton also.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710KEEL.com.
Now more breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710KEEL.
What is today? Wednesday?
Yippers.
Do you watch? You watch football, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. Big fan.
Sunday Night Football, okay? Mm-hmm. Carrie Underwood has been doing the Open.
Right.
For a few years now.
Right.
And that's, I don't remember how it goes.
Yeah,
the song, I don't know. But, every week she sings those two teams.
Sure.
The Saints and the Cowboys.
Right, yeah.
Do you know she gets $1 million every time that airs?
No freaking way.
I want her agent, by the way.
Every time. So every week she's getting $1 million.
They record all those Opens in one session. Okay, so I'm sure it's like I don't know how long it takes to do them all. Ooh. She does the entire year all at once. She does, I do the whole main version, but then we go through and pick up all the matchups for the regular season and playoff football. And she says, and then I sing every possible combination of teams that could possibly maybe play each other.
Oh, now that makes it worth it.
Even in the back of your head, you're like, I know they ain't going to the playoffs.
They're not going to be there, yeah.
Cleveland Browns.
Dallas Cowboys. No, I'm joking.
Oh!
Sorry.
Yeah, $18 million for that session.
Wow.
Not a bad payday.
No kidding.
$1 million
Golly.
every Sunday night during the NFL season.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. You go, girl.
No kidding. Go get you some money.
Oh, Richard Llewellyn with the Weather Channel joining us coming up just after the break, giving us an update on Milton's progress as it barrels toward Florida. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty.
Back with
If you're a facilities manager at a warehouse and your HVAC system goes down, it can turn up the heat, literally. But don't sweat it, Grainger has you covered. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products for all your operations, including warehouse HVAC maintenance. And even better, they offer access to experts and fast delivery, so you and your warehouse can both keep your cool. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Party on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Well, Hurricane Milton continues to barrel towards the east coast of Florida on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker hotline.
West coast of Florida.
That's what I said, the west coast of Florida.
Okay.
What did you think I said? Of course I said the west coast. Richard Llewellyn, you see what I deal with, Richard? Richard, good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all this
It
morning?
looks like the west coast of Florida is already getting a significant amount of rain and wind impacts.
Yeah, we can see the eye now from both Tampa and Key West radar, and they're starting to get the outer feeder bands of this storm. It's pretty much time is up for the folks there along the coast. Their time's pretty much
Fox
done.
News Radio 5-minute.
Whoa. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I thought that was me there for a minute.
Well, we did too.
I did too.
We thought, oh, you're getting an alert. But so it's already approaching the east coast.
West Coast.
That's what I said, the west coast.
I'm going to throw something at him.
I'm going to go get some more Jameson.
Yeah. Yeah, it's approaching the West Coast. Looks like we're going to probably end up seeing, this is going to be a devastating blow no matter where it goes on the west coast of Florida. But, if it does go in the worst case scenario right over Tampa Bay, I mean, this is going to be a significant catastrophic event for the West Coast because water is going to go in all different places that we've never seen before.
How high does the surge look like now?
Still 10 to 15 feet. Basically, and that may be an underestimate, because I was thinking about the surge from Katrina on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. They were going with about a 12-foot surge on that particular event, and there was some 20, 23, 24 feet elevation type deals where the surge was, over 10 feet higher than what it was. And, of course, in a situation like that, you're talking about surge going in for miles. I read a report yesterday that the Navy put out. They did some research in the 70s on basically worst-case scenario for Tampa, and they basically said that places like most of Tampa, most of St. Petersburg, MacDill Air Force Base, all that area where the airport is and around where Tampa General Hospital, water was, pretty much inundated, all of that. And there was an interesting piece from the Tampa Historical Society from a hurricane they had in the 1840s where a similar scenario took shape. And there was a lighthouse keeper who had his family at a lighthouse that used to be on a barrier island. He took his family inland and tied them to some trees in a boat. Well, the boat and the surge came up, and it sat the boat in the tops of trees. And that's where he found his family after the storm went by.
Are you still projecting a surge 10 miles inland from the coast?
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be some places as far east as I-75 that's going to be looking at some water. The problem is we're getting the storm surge coming in plus a lot of rain. It's raining there now. There could be some instances where the water, when it pushes into some of these inlets and bays and sounds, you combine that with the fresh water trying to come out from some of these river systems, and the water gets trapped and can't come out because the surge is basically keeping it all bottled up inside of the surge zone. So once the surge comes in, you're talking about fresh water and salt water coming together, and you're going to be talking about water that's just going to have nowhere to go. And it's going to take a while for the surge component to come down, even after the storm goes by.
Now, landfall, again, tonight, the projected time frame, and then how fast is it moving?
It's moving at a pretty good clip right now, and once it gets to Florida, it is going to accelerate across the Florida Peninsula. We're probably looking at somewhere between 10 p.m. tonight and about 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. The system will quickly move across the Florida Peninsula. There will be hurricane force conditions. All the theme parks are shut down. A lot of people were on the road yesterday. I heard that there were folks going to New Orleans to get out of harm's way. I-10 was an absolute nightmare yesterday.
There's some irony in that, isn't there?
Yeah, I-10 was completely just, Mobile. There isn't a hotel room within 500 miles of where the storm is coming in.
Holy cow.
Hotels are booked in Birmingham, Atlanta, New Orleans, everywhere along the East Coast. You can't find a hotel room anywhere right now.
Richard Llewellyn from the Weather Channel. We will be in touch. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
101.7 FM 710 KEEL. Don't forget Mayor Tom Arsenault joining us in studio in the 7 o'clock hour, answering your questions, our monthly chat with the mayor, Mike and McCarty. 101.7 FM 710KEEL.com.
Let's get back to the show with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
We haven't talked about it in a while. I don't guess the jackpot's been big enough for you to...
It's getting there. I might actually buy for tonight.
Is it the Mega Millions or what's the other one?
Powerball is
Powerball.
Powerball's over $300 million for tonight. So this may be, I may make a run by a store and grab a ticket. It's getting there. So have you seen the news about the Mega Millions? Yeah, the tickets are going to be $5 instead of $2. They're going from $2 to $5. Now they're Now they're saying, you're going to have improved odds, so you're going to go, 999 million as opposed to 1 billion to 1 odds. Yeah. Bigger jackpots more frequently. Mm-hmm. Okay. Larger starting jackpots. Right. Faster growing jackpots. Built-in multiplier every play. But for people like me that buy exciting. I buy 5 tickets at once, 5. So is this going to stop you or slow you down from buying tickets? For me, I can still, that'd be a $25 ticket for me as opposed to a $10 ticket, which I normally buy. I'll probably pay the $25, but there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go from buying 5 numbers to just give me 1. Or they might have spent $10 before. Now they're going to just go, just give me a $5 ticket, 1 ticket. So 1 slate of numbers. I don't know. They say your odds are going to be better. The current odds of winning are 1 in 302.6 million. Man. If I win, I'm gonna build the Night Street Tunnel. I'm gonna be there. You'll have to get that cleared, won't you? Yeah, maybe. I know some people. Yeah. Who do you know? I know a few people. Yeah. One of those going to join us coming up just after the top of the hour, Mayor Tom Arsenault. This is so cool. We do this every month now. Mm-hmm. An hour conversation with the mayor, no holds barred. Right. If you've got a question, shoot your question to the Shreveport Security Systems message board. You do that through the free KEEL app. Right. If you don't have that downloaded, there's no excuse not to. And we might possibly pass that along to the mayor. Absolutely. Coming up next, 101.7 FM, 710KEEL.com. "11 minutes past the hour. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Ruben, throw something at him. That's my broadcast. Broadcast voice. Shreveport Mayor Tom Arsenault joining us in studio. It's our
Ask the Mayor Wednesday. We do this every month now. Very gracious of the mayor to agree to come in. Answer your questions. By the way, shoot us your question on the Shreveport Security Systems message board. It's a free download on the KEEL app. That's how you get in touch with us.
Let's start with the police headquarters. You sent out a list of possible sites. You also have notified the council. I was watching the meetings this week that you brought in a team to do some more testing at the current headquarters building to see if there is mold, mildew, or anything. Because the old report was, 2 years old?
The report, was from January of 22.
So you brought in a team. What'd they find?
They found some moisture. They found some areas that needed to be treated. They did not believe that they were sufficient to require removal of any employees there, so they didn't find a health risk. But certainly they want to make sure, we want to make sure that we are alleviating the circumstances that could lead to a health risk. So we have brought in the remediation equipment to do it. And if the results don't improve, then we'll go in the vent in the duct system and clean that out, because we'll have to have people there for a period of time.
So nobody's going to have to move because of this work.
That's correct.
Immediately.
That's correct.
Do we know what this is going to cost us? Any idea?
I don't know what it's going to cost us, but it's something that we have to do.
Okay.
Temporary locations for the Shreveport Police. You released a list of possible locations. Last my count was about 18 possible locations. Has that been expanded or narrowed down yet? How are we on that?
The answer is yes and no.
Yeah.
It was expanded because some people brought us some very good ideas. We're in the process of narrowing it down. If you're trying to do something quickly, at some point you have to stop increasing what you're looking at and begin to make decisions and plans to move forward. And that's kind of where I would say we are right now.
Some of them were very intriguing. A lot of Willis Knighton properties.
Yes.
A lot of school properties, office parks. Is there any that you have a tendency to lean toward?
I am pretty much leaving that to the recommendations of my chief administrative officer and the police chief, because they're the ones who are out there doing the day-to-day work on it. And there are some very promising places for patrol, moving patrol out. That's who will move out first. That is, each of those is a relatively small, definable group of people that make it easier to say, okay, we're going to put Area 1 in this place, Area 2 in this place, Area 3 in this place, Area 4 in this place. And so we'll be decentralizing that. And then you have administrative, investigation, ABO, everything else that we would like to keep together because it's all administrative function. But, given the circumstances we have, we may not be able to keep them all together.
When Chief Smith was in here a few weeks ago, he was talking about, some of the consideration to take into is the fact that, there's when you're dealing with a police department, a lot of times you're dealing with people that you don't want in just an office building, say downtown, on a regular basis.
Well, particularly with investigations,
undercover officers.
Undercover will be in the process of moving. We have a site for them, and
where's that?
I
thought I'd catch him,
Mike. I really like you, and I would hate to have to shoot you.
Yeah,
I'll shoot back. But that is one of the considerations, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot. As with any decision, it usually turns out to be more complicated than it appears.
Nothing can just be easy.
It's not, and so we're working our way through those things, and hopefully I feel confident we'll have some recommendations by the 22nd of October, the next council meeting. I hope we'll have more recommendations, but we're in the process of narrowing that down. There's some good sites. Some of them are better for temporary sites than permanent sites, but we're looking at everything.
Concerned about retrofitting those. A police station is got specific needs, interview rooms and cameras and all that kind of stuff.
Security.
Right. what kind of cost are we looking at if we move into 1, 2, or 3 different locations just temporarily? Is it money we're flushing down the commode?
Well, we're not. The new police headquarters will be on the site of the old police headquarters. So at some point, we were going to have to move all of those people, which means we were going to be in temporary circumstances and would have to do that retrofitting as a part of moving to a new facility. Mm-hmm. And so that really is that's we're going to incur that cost a little earlier than we thought, but it's really not a cost that we weren't going to have to incur.
Okay. There's been some talk that this has been a slow process, and so the council has been pumping the brakes on some other things because they feel like it's been slow. They've pumped the brakes on the sale of the bonds, this most recent bond, because they feel like they haven't seen action on this front. That possibly we could have already had a substation built, and we could have moved a bunch of our people into that substation. How do you respond to that? I mean, have you been working as fast as you can on this, realistically?
Well, we have. We located the Monkhouse site. We identified it. There are 2 things that are moving to Monkhouse. Traffic is moving, and that actually might happen by the end of the year. We're hopeful of that. That building is being retrofitted as we speak, and hopefully will be finished by the end of this month, and we can start making moves there. We announced that we would use that site also for the substation at Monkhouse. That one is in the process of being under contract to redo. So we did that. The funds became available actually on December 29th of 22, about 2 days before I took office. Mm-hmm. And none of those buildings had been set up to do that. All the bonds had been sold. And we moved very quickly after that, trying to design these things. They weren't designed. They had to be designed. And it just takes a little bit of time. But in terms of police headquarters, we began working on the new police headquarters in April of 2023. So we have not been delaying anything on the new headquarters. Most of this controversy arose, the big noise about it arose 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And we have responded very quickly and I think very effectively to those concerns.
You know, as to that big controversy, why 2 weeks ago? This is something, as you just said, it's been in the works. You've already have been addressing the issue. Why was this big stink even brought up?
Well, I think the council members began to have an increased volume of complaints from people who are in the building. I think look, those complaints are valid. I'm not debating whether or not that's a good place to work. It is not a good place to work. Sure. And we had been working, I say, since April of 2023 to do this. The architect selection committee met to hear the architect presentations on September 7th of 2023. They made a recommendation. It took a little while to configure the contract. The contract was entered into in January of this year, and it has been moving apace. So we have been moving as quickly as we can on the new police headquarters.
There's some controversy over the North Shreveport substation.
Yep.
We want to talk with the mayor about that when we get back.
Stay with us. Take a quick break. Mike and McCarty in with Mayor Tom Arsenault, 101.7 FM, 710KEEL.com.
Now more breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Shreveport Mayor Tom Arsenault in with Mike and McCarty in studio. Our monthly Ask the Mayor segment, spending the whole hour with us. You can shoot us your questions on the Shreveport Security Systems message board, like some already have, and we'll get to those here in just a minute.
North Shreveport Police Substation, there's a little bit of a kerfuffle brewing. In the deed, there's language that says if you don't use it for a police purpose for 25 years, the North Shreveport Business Association can take the property back. Council members are now bowing up saying, we never knew that was in the deed. essentially saying, "Why didn't you tell us that was in the deed, Mayor? You signed it. You should have known. You're a lawyer. Did you know that was in the deed? Is it a sticking point?"
Well, it certainly is a sticking point with the council. We're looking at the circumstances. I signed it. I'm sure I read it when I signed it, and it says what it says. So we're looking at the circumstances. I don't specifically recall the circumstances of it. I do think it should have been brought to the council's attention, and it was a mistake not to do that.
Would you advise building on a property, spending $1.5 million on a substation there, if the risk is the group that donated the property could take it back?
Well, it's not unusual when property is donated for a purpose to have those kinds of conditions on it. AC Steer did that with the AC Steer Park and the school that was built on that site. So it's not really an unusual circumstance, but it's certainly something that should have been brought to the council's attention, and the council should have approved it before I signed it.
Are you working with the North Shreveport Business Association to get that caveat removed from the contract?
The first time that the council raised this issue was yesterday during a council meeting. So
is that in your plans maybe to approach them?
Certainly is.
And are you hopeful they will remove it from the deed, and then you can move forward?
I haven't had any discussions with them. I would hope that they would consider that and do it. I know that the North Shreveport Business Association very much wants the substation to be built on that site. So I would hope that those would be positive communications.
Has there been any studies on the actual ground of that location? Could that be a hazardous site with the previous business?
We did a phase one environment. We did our due diligence on that, so I'm not really worried about that.
Okay.
Is there a possibility the council could give that land back and say, "Hey, this is in the deed. We don't want it under these conditions"?
That's something that's under study by the city attorney. Again, all this was raised in a public meeting yesterday for the first time, and I have not gotten all the sets of circumstances and facts that I need to make a determination.
You want to ask the mayor a question? Download the KEEL app. Ask it on the Shreveport Security Systems message board.
And
fair game.
Sandy has done one. She sent in. She says, "Why do some intersections now have two sets of traffic lights on heavy metal poles?" I think I would know the answer to that, but we'll let the mayor address.
Those are replacement poles, and I believe that all of those are DOTD. They're replacing the lights. I don't know if you've seen some of the lights have been replaced where they have a flashing yellow left turn signal,
which, by the way,
take a little bit of getting used to.
Thank you. I almost got smashed one time in Texas because it had the flashing yellow, and I'm thinking they still had a red, and mine's about to turn like a yellow light.
Yeah.
And I turn left in front of an 18-wheeler, and he's just barreling down toward me, and I'm just like, okay, that's not what that meant.
Right.
Yeah, those are not ours, and what I understand is the others will be taken down, and those will be implemented.
That means for those like me that didn't know, a flashing yellow means it's okay to turn when it's clear.
Yeah, exactly. When we come back with the mayor, I want to ask about demo of Fairgrounds Field. The bids are in. Have we signed the contract? When's the wrecking ball arrive?
Mike and McCarty with Shreveport Mayor Tom Arsenault, 101.7 FM, 710keel.com.
Big stories of the day with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Shreveport Mayor Tom Arsenault in studio. Mike and McCarty, our monthly chat with the mayor. Mayor, as you drive by on I-20, you can see trucks now already on the State Fairgrounds site for the State Fair of Louisiana, getting ready to kick off later this month. We talked about demolition of Fairgrounds Field, hopefully by Independence Bowl. So are we going to have to work around the State Fair now?
Well, we certainly need to work around the State Fair. We're not going to do anything in the demolition of Fairgrounds Field that is going to interfere materially with the setup or the tear down or the operation of the State Fair. We'll have to sandwich this in between There are about 40 days between the State Fair and the Independence Bowl, and we hope to have it down. But the most important thing is to get it down.
When's it going to start? You have a contract signed?
Don't have a contract signed.
Okay.
Yet. Bid has been awarded. That contract's in the process of being circulated. We'll have to sign the contract, and then the key thing is the notice to proceed, and we will coordinate with the contractor and the State Fair to make sure that we're not interfering with the State Fair.
So no more issues with bats and bat guano and barn owls and sparrows and endangered lizards.
We believe that our process will be a healthy process that accounts for all of the issues that have been raised.
Okay.
The latest audit of the city has some things that are a little bit alarming. Can we talk about that when we get back?
Sure.
Okay.
Take a quick break. Back with the mayor, Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, and on the free KEEL app.
If you're a facilities manager at a warehouse and your HVAC system goes down, it can turn up the heat, literally. But don't sweat it. Grainger has you covered. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products for all your operations, including warehouse HVAC maintenance. And even better, they offer access to experts and fast delivery, so you and your warehouse can both keep your cool. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Shreveport Mayor Tom Arsenault in studio. Hold on, let me light this fire under your chair. That seat's about to get hot.
The latest audit has some substantial problems that are mentioned.
I disagree that they're substantial. They're not material. They're not material. They are important.
This calls it 9 material weaknesses.
Again, we believe that in the scheme of the city's budget and its audit, it's a small amount, but we're going to correct them.
One is improper budget transfers. Can you explain what they're pointing out there and how you fixed it?
Yeah, well, we're in the process of fixing it. Most of that has to do with entries in the fire and police department, and there's some other criticisms, weaknesses that were pointed out in terms of timeliness of some of the journal entries, and we are working on those. Part of that resulted in our audit being late, which I was very unhappy about, and so we're going to address all those issues.
You mentioned the police department. There was one issue where one police department employee was paid full salary and remained on active status after going on disability in the middle of 2023. And
there's
for
like I say,
9 months.
We acknowledge the weaknesses. One of the great things about a good audit firm like Carl Riggs and Ingram is that they look at us very carefully and very impartially, and they grade our papers and they tell us where we're doing well. Mostly they tell us where we're not doing well, and we're going to correct these.
Was that just an oversight? I mean, you say they went deep. That's going down to one employee.
Frankly, that audit was just released. I have not personally seen it, so I don't know the answer to the question.
The one that glares for me is $8 million in accounts receivable that is owed to the city that's uncollected. Is that primarily water bills?
The one I'd be most concerned about would be water bills. I'm not sure whether those accounts receivable include things like the liens on property standards and that kind of thing. Most of those are paper receivables. We're not ever going to collect most of that money, but because we're behind mortgages and we have pieces of property we would have to foreclose on that's not worth very much. So we basically understand in property standards that we're going to be essentially eating that cost. But it's something that we make a determination about collectability. The overdue water bills are a very big concern to me, and I am on top of the water and sewer department to collect those amounts and also to do a more effective job on the front end so that we do not have those amounts in the future.
Are we hiring private companies to do collections on the ones we can recoup?
We will. We are using for a while during COVID, we had stopped most collection efforts, and that was obviously nothing I had anything to do with. It resulted in some pretty substantial balances that we're trying to collect, and I am working with Mr. Daniel to collect the amounts that we can collect, to examine circumstances that would give us some revenue from those, and then to make sure that this kind of circumstance does not happen in the future.
When you get an audit like this that does have some, things that it points out, do you answer? I mean, your financial folks are going to be answering and making the corrections?
Yes.
And are y'all in the process of doing that now?
That has already started, particularly some of the reporting issues and shortcomings in police and fire. We're addressing part of the information that was submitted to the auditors late had to do with communication between finance, police, and fire, and we are correcting that immediately.
I'm going to ask you something that I sent in my list. I sent you a list of things that I was interested in talking about, and you replied, we only have an hour. And I said, well, we'll try to do rapid fire with some of them. I'm a little concerned about the hiring of bond attorneys, and I tell you why. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, a couple of the attorneys we're hiring come from your former law firm. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
Is that an ethical violation?
None.
You have checked into it?
Yeah. I'm not receiving any money from it, and I happen to know that they're excellent lawyers who do this kind of work.
Were you a part owner of that law firm before you left it?
I was at one time a part owner of that law firm, but I have not been an owner for over 2 years.
Okay, and so you don't see any kind of a little bit of a gray area that maybe I shouldn't give business to my former buddies?
I think to disqualify qualified people because they have some association with me would be unfair and not good for the city.
Okay. Is it treated differently if you had owned a gas station and you come back and you buy gas from that gas station after you're mayor? Are lawyers handled differently in the ethics code? I don't know. I'm asking.
It wouldn't be any different if it were a gas station. If I no longer own an interest in the gas station, there is no ethical concern. I get no personal benefit from it.
Okay. But the fact that maybe you have friends that do?
Most of us do business with friends, and it's not unusual to have people. I generally would probably not hire someone who was a complete stranger in whom I didn't have any confidence. I have confidence in these people, and I think they'll do a good job.
Okay. Let's talk about the sale of bonds. Council has pumped the brakes. So we have to take another break?
You want to do
Let's do a quick break.
Yeah, we need to do a quick break.
Okay, then we'll come back.
Talk about that because I do want to talk about the the city council and their vote yesterday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710keel.com.
If you're a facilities manager at a warehouse and your HVAC system goes down, it can turn up the heat, literally. But don't sweat it. Grainger has you covered. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products for all your operations, including warehouse HVAC maintenance. And even better, they offer access to experts and fast delivery, so you and your warehouse can both keep your cool. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Back to the show with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
In studio, Shreveport Mayor Tom Arsenault, Mike and McCarty. It's our monthly chat with the mayor, answering your questions. Submit those on the Shreveport Security Systems message board. Several have. Mayor, I would say not really a good day in the city council meeting yesterday. City council
pluses and minuses.
Pluses and minuses. There you go. City council voted 7-0 not to approve any bond funding, not to sell any bonds until you get the other ones finished, completed.
I don't think finished. I think they want the folks moved out of the police station. I think that's their sticking point. Am I right?
have to take them at their word. That's what they said. I think by the time we have the next council meeting, we will have substantial progress in doing that and know where we're going. So I am optimistic that they will.
See, I don't understand. I don't understand this being so obtuse when things are in motion. You're working on it. You're aware of it. You're moving forward on this. Why? Why is the council acting this way?
Well, I think the obvious answer is that's something you have to ask them.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know the answer.
I
we are working with the council. We are improving our relationship with council members and providing them with as much information as we can to try and break the logjam.
This sounds like I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, in the power struggle, they're showing, hey, you don't do what we want. Here's what we're going to do to you. That's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm watching. But now this is the second meeting. They have postponed it. In the big picture, what does postponing it do in terms of could this cost our city money in terms of interest rates? It's going to obviously now delay it until after the election.
Well, we also know that equipment costs and supply costs, all of that go up the longer you wait.
Yeah, in our view, there's no reason we can't be pursuing both of these goals at the same time. And our goal is to get the bonds issued. We told the public when we went out to them for the election, an election supported by 5 of the council members, we told them that we wanted to begin construction, if possible, by the end of 2024, but certainly by early in 2025. And so our putting this in front of the council is our commitment to the citizens of Shreveport who approved these bonds by 80%, by 80-20 margin. So we believe that we are carrying out the will of the people, and we're going to continue to do that.
Not selling the bonds delays things. Any idea, a time frame delay in your view? Because you can't start design work if you don't have the money, right?
Right. We don't have the money until we sell the bonds.
Right. And so nothing can be. You can't hire an architect. You can't draw plans.
Correct.
You can't. So this every 2 weeks is another pushing it down the line.
That's correct.
And every project is now delayed again.
That's correct.
Do they understand that?
I think they do. I think in the scheme of things, the delays from last council meeting and this council meeting, assuming that we get our issues worked out by the 22nd of October, I think that in the scheme of things that all of that comes out in the wash.
What are some of the first projects that you would like to get started?
A number of them. There's some in University Park, which is in District A. There's some water and sewer projects that we really want to get in line. The water and sewer are the easiest ones to actually get shovels in the ground because they are already designed.
Okay, so you are trying to work it out with the council. What do you do? Is it individual meetings with each one? Do you have 2 at a time? What is your plan? You've got to win them over. I mean, you got to go in there and say, "Hey, I'm trying to work with you."
Every council, I have a relationship with every council meeting member, and it's my responsibility to work on that relationship and to find out what their objections are and answer those objections.
Okay, we get a lot of questions on our message board, and I get texts about the cleaning up of our city and getting the street lights on. I know we talk about this every time. You have a concerted effort going on to pick up trash. Is it city workers? Is it a contract? Is it a combination?
Mostly it's city workers. We have invested more money in this than previously. Unfortunately, we don't have an endless pot of money, and therefore we have places in the city that are still litter strewn, and we're doing our best to meet those issues as expeditiously as we can.
I know Kathy she asked, are property standards and city ordinances still enforced? She says, I've taken photos and sent pictures of yard parking, unsightly yards, and I know on my street there's a house that's just literally crumbling. Nobody mows or anything. Knee-deep grass, but nothing gets done. It brings down my property values.
Well, I would say in most cases something is being done. The process, we have this clause in the U.S. Constitution called the Due Process Clause, and so we normally have to give notice. Sometimes it's difficult to determine where the notice is to go, and it just takes some time. But we are addressing those. Every month I sign demolition orders. We've spent $800,000+ on demolition. We spent over $800,000 so far this year on cleanup of things when owners don't clean them up. Remember, what we're trying to do is to get the owners to fulfill their responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. Got a new economic development director coming?
I do.
Our last 30 seconds. When will he be on board? What are his marching orders?
His marching orders are he'll be on board November 1st.
Okay.
And we'll start meeting with people who are involved in economic development, meeting with council members to find out what their needs are in the council.
Mayor, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. Look forward to next month.
You bet.
Mayor Tom Arsenault, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Well, Hurricane Milton continues to barrel towards the east coast of Florida on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker hotline.
West coast of Florida.
That's what I said, the west coast of Florida.
Okay.
What did you think I said? Of course I said the west coast. Richard Llewellyn, you see what I deal with, Richard? Richard, good morning.
Good morning. How are y'all this morning?
Looks like the west coast of Florida is already getting a significant amount of rain and wind impacts.
Yeah, we can see the eye now from both Tampa and Key West radar, and they're starting to get the outer feeder bands of this storm. It's pretty much time is up for the folks there along the coast. Their time's pretty much done.
Whoa, okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. I thought that was me there for a minute.
Well, we did too.
I did too.
We thought, you're getting an alert. But so it's already approaching the east coast.
West Coast.
That's what I said, the west coast.
I'm going to throw something at him.
I'm going to go get some more Jameson.
Yeah. Yeah, it's approaching the West Coast. Looks like we're going to probably end up seeing, this is going to be a devastating blow no matter where it goes on the west coast of Florida. But, if it does go in the worst case scenario right over Tampa Bay, I mean, this is going to be a significant catastrophic event for the West Coast because water is going to go in all different places that we've never seen before.
How high does the surge look like now?
Still 10 to 15 feet, basically, and that may be an underestimate, because I was thinking about the surge from Katrina on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. They were going with about a 12-foot surge on that particular event, and there was some 20, 23, 24 feet elevation type deals where the surge was over 10 feet higher than what it was. And of course, in a situation like that, you're talking about surge going in for miles. I read a report yesterday that the Navy put out. They did some research in the 70s on basically worst case scenario for Tampa. And they basically said that places like most of Tampa, most of St. Petersburg, MacDill Air Force Base, all that area where the airport is and around where Tampa General Hospital, water was, pretty much inundated all of that. And there was an interesting piece from the Tampa Historical Society from a hurricane they had in the 1840s where a similar scenario took shape. And there was a lighthouse keeper who had his family at a lighthouse that used to be on a barrier island. He took his family inland and tied them to some trees in a boat. Well, the boat and the surge came up, and it sat the boat in the tops of trees. And that's where he found his family after the storm went by.
Are you still projecting a surge 10 miles inland from the coast?
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be some places as far east as I-75 that's going to be looking at some water. The problem is we're getting the storm surge coming in, plus a lot of rain. It's raining there now. There could be some instances where the water, when it pushes into some of these inlets and bays and sounds, you combine that with the fresh water trying to come out from some of these river systems, and the water gets trapped and can't come out because the surge is basically keeping it all bottled up inside of the surge zone. So once the surge comes in, you're talking about fresh water and salt water coming together, and you're going to be talking about water that's just going to have nowhere to go. And it's going to take a while for the surge component to come down, even after the storm goes by.
Now, landfall, again, tonight, the projected time frame, and then how fast is it moving?
It's moving at a pretty good clip right now, and once it gets to Florida, it is going to accelerate across the Florida Peninsula. We're probably looking at somewhere between 10 p.m. tonight and about 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. The system will quickly move across the Florida Peninsula. There will be hurricane-force conditions. All the theme parks are shut down. A lot of people were on the road yesterday. I heard that there were folks going to New Orleans to get out of harm's way. I-10 was an absolute nightmare yesterday.
There's some irony in that, isn't there?
Yeah, I-10 was completely just, Mobile. There isn't a hotel room within 500 miles of where the storm is coming in.
Holy cow.
Hotels are booked in Birmingham, Atlanta, New Orleans, everywhere along the East Coast. You can't find a hotel room anywhere right now.
Richard Llewellyn with the Weather Channel. We will be in touch. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
1017 FM, 710keel.com.
Now more breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
1017 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty. And on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline, David Howell, the supply director of the Cajun Navy Relief. David, first of all, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for talking with us. You guys are hot and heavy in relief efforts for Hurricane Helene. And what are some of the most pressing needs that you see, especially in the Carolinas? And how can people locally lend a hand?
Well, there's a lot of ways that people are helping right now with efforts. One of the biggest things we're seeing is cold weather gear. As hurricane has impacted all of these people, that weather is starting to turn. We're looking at temperatures getting into the 30s here soon at night. These people have lost everything. They don't have that warm weather gear that they would normally have for those colder temperatures. So doing donations for that, I know at the moment we are working with a couple of different organizations in the Louisiana area to do supply drives, do drop points where we can then transport the supplies up to the area affected and get those supplies to the people.
People that want to donate, what's the best way, the most efficient way?
Well, there's two really good ways to donate. The first one is to fill out one of the donation tickets if you want to donate supplies on our website, and that's CajunNavyRelief.org. The other way is to donate money. Any money that we're receiving at the moment, we're trying to push back into these communities so that we can then help them in the long-term efforts of rebuilding and getting back to normal.
David, do you find we've heard reports where relief efforts are actually being hindered by federal regulations? Buttigieg said no drones being flown in the area, and I know in the past they've actually discouraged the Cajun Navy from going into disaster hit areas. Are you finding any kickback from the federal government?
At this moment, we're not seeing any kickback from the federal government. We're, working there with the locals. A lot of them are welcoming us into the area because they know that we're bringing the supplies, we're bringing the expertise of how to deal with a natural disaster of this magnitude. We do know that for a time they were discouraging the use of drones because they were still operating in a rescue manner. And with that, they're wanting to get the helicopters in and not have to worry about drones.
How devastating is it? You've been there. Your crews have been there. How bad is it?
So it's bad. For most hurricanes, when they hit the Gulf Coast, we're looking at storm surge and we're looking at flooding over tens and hundreds of miles. Right here, you're looking at that same flooding in only a couple of hundred feet. It is channeling that water. It is getting just extreme velocity as it's coming down these ravines, wiping everything out in the process. And then we have that contaminated mud that we're dealing with. Some of these areas are having to get almost full hazmat suits on to clear out some of this mud because of the contamination.
We know that there are still hundreds are missing. Have you come across and been able to affect any rescue efforts?
So we've been running welfare checks since 24 hours after the storm, working in these areas, trying to walk in, hike in, ATV in, drive in, and check on people and get word out to their family that they are okay, because cell signal is still very spotty and we're not seeing that they're able to reach out. At the moment, that's all we're doing is working welfare checks. We're not actively working rescues. However, I am aware that they have been doing some rescues as late as Saturday.
Still need water, basic necessities. Those things are still needed?
So at the moment, a lot of people are, we've been bringing water in for a week. So water is not an issue. We're more looking at that long-term need of cleaning up and then the cold weather gear. That is the biggest need I'm hearing from every distribution center right now, is new clothes and ways for people to stay warm, whether that's heaters or Mylar blankets or sleeping bags, anything that they can use to stay warm at night.
CajunNavyRelief.com. You'll also have an Amazon wish list page on your Facebook. You can get the link to that where you can find out specifics that you guys are needing, right?
Absolutely. We have that Amazon wish list. If you go on and order something from there, it gets sent to one of our members, and we get it transported into the area.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. I've seen that used in other efforts. That's a great idea, a great way to do that. David Howell, Supply Director of the Cajun Navy Relief, thank you so much for talking with us this morning. Please stay safe. And, I guess you're getting ready for Milton also.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
Mike and McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710keel.com.
Back with more of Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Creepy.
City Councilman Grayson Butcher is going to join us in a couple of minutes.
Yes.
He's going to kind of respond to the mayor and why they're delaying the sale of the bonds. But I wanted to ask you guys a question because I have guilt feelings over something I did as a mother.
Oh, no.
When my children were little.
Okay.
And it's this time of year when I did it. And so I'm a little bit, I want kind of forgiveness. I know the statute of limitations has run up. If it was a crime, wow. I don't know. But, we lived out in kind of a rural area where you don't go door to door for trick or treating. Okay. So we would pack up the children and we would go to South Highlands.
Oh, yeah.
Or Green Acres Place or Broadmoor. And we were Halloween poachers. Mm-hmm. We'd go door to door through the neighborhood like we lived there. Mm-hmm. Have a little wagon. Kids would ride in the wagon. They'd go run up to every house, and we'd go get all the goods. Go block by block by block. We'd be out there for a long time. Is that wrong?
No. You know what?
Okay.
No. I've thought about that, and I've kind of changed my tune on this.
Have you?
I don't think it's wrong. I mean, parents want to take their kids to a place they feel safe. Mm-hmm. And if it's not where they are, then, you're going trick-or-treating for crying out loud.
Doesn't matter. The Halloween poaching is okay. It's now a good thing.
I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I don't have a problem with it. I used to in years past.
Okay.
But it's like, wait, who says you have to live, here
Right.
to go trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
Now, when they were 16, was I wrong bringing them around into
Yes.
your neighborhood? Yeah.
I have told guys that walk up with a backpack hanging around their neck, draped open,
Yeah.
and go, trick-or-treat. Like, no, dude. No.
Move on. Yeah.
No.
Go to Brooksher's and buy you a candy bar.
And it's like, it's for my nephew or what. I'm like, okay, and I'll throw one thing in there.
Oh, yeah.
And that I don't appreciate. Mm-hmm. But, no. If parents want to take their kids to someplace that they can go trick-or-treating, come on.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel better about myself now. I always get a little anxious this time of year.
No,
thinking,
and I understand.
Yeah.
And like I say, I used to go,
you don't live around here.
kids are kids.
Yeah.
Let them go trick or treating.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
well,
I have no problem.
I
with
feel
that.
good. I feel good now. All
Grayson
right.
Butcher joining us on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline right after the break. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.
Let's get back to the show with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Well, on the Jack Spring Electric Newsmaker Hotline, Shreveport City Councilman Grayson Butcher joining Mike and McCarty. Grayson, good morning.
Hey, good morning, y'all. How are you?
Well,
Good.
we're doing well. You heard the mayor on last hour, and we were talking to him about the city council voting yesterday 7-0 to not fund any of or not sell any of the bonds until he does what you want. Does that sound petty to you?
I heard you ask him that question, and I like what his response was. Ask a council member. So I'm glad you're asking me.
So I want to ask you the same thing. I appreciate you jumping on, but it sounds like we're going to take our ball and go home if you don't do what we want. That's kind of what it sounds like.
That could not be further than the truth. So give me just a second to explain kind of where we are.
Well, sure, and I hope you prove me wrong.
Well, I am. Trust me, I will. Here's the deal. So for years, and I don't think either one of you can disagree, that the city has not done what it was supposed to do when it comes to these bonds. Knight Street, perfect example.
Thank you.
Sure.
Am I not right?
I agree, yeah.
I heard up until last year, Erin talk about it at least once a week, and I agree with her. And I fought to get Knight Street done, myself and Councilman Nicholson at the time and Councilman Talaferro, and then all of us came together and got Knight Street done. When I sat down on the mayor's couch in the second floor of Government Plaza about a year ago, the mayor and he asked me, he said, I'm going out for a bond. We have some major issues that we need to get taken care of, but the only way we can do it is bond the money. We don't have it in our budget. I've gotten in here, looked at the budget. We're making cuts, but we're not able to do exactly what we want to do. And I said, well, Mayor, with all due respect, I can't support this right now. And his question, of course, was, why can't you support the bond? And I said, because we don't even know where we are on 2021. There's a substation that I promised my citizens in South Shreveport. We don't even have a location. We don't even have plans to the new police station. I said, I don't want another. And then at that point, I said, and we don't even have Knight Street finished from 2011. I said, I can't in good conscience go to the taxpayers and ask them to borrow over $200 million for us not to handle business. And he said, look, we've got things going. We're moving forward. And I said, okay. And I said, look, I still don't feel comfortable about it. And I said, we've got police officers in a station that's fallen down, and we don't even have a set of plans. He said, look, my team is working on it. So we went back and forth for probably about a month or two before he decided to put it on the ballot. And I finally caved and said, okay, if you're working on all this stuff, then we'll do it. And it's not that the city can't chew gum and walk at the same time. That's not what the problem is here. The problem is we had an audit just come out in the last day or so that had probably, I disagreed with the mayor on this, some of the worst findings that we've had since I've been a city council member. We have some really material issues in the city that we're having trouble taking care of. So all we're asking the mayor is give us a plan with this police department before we move forward with the 2024 bonds. That's all we're asking. We're not trying to hold anything up. And also, if you follow the city at all and you watch our meetings like a lot of people do, you heard what Mike Bossier said, who the mayor just said. He hired good bond attorneys this time, and I agree with him. Mike Bossier said at our Monday meeting, I asked him specifically, does this slow us down on our process, or is the work already being done on the 2024? And he said, it does not slow us down. I said, interest rates. What do you think about interest rates? And exactly what I would tell you as a realtor if you're going to buy a house. I can't tell you if interest rates are going to be lower now or if they're going to be lower in December after the election. That's an unknown variable. So interest rates need to be taken out of this.
What has to happen between now and your next meeting for y'all to move forward on selling the bonds? The mayor says he hopes this will all be ironed out by the 22nd. What does he have to show you guys for y'all to vote to sell those bonds?
Well, let me back up on one thing real quick, Aaron, and I'll answer that question. Let's look at the North Market piece of property, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's say that the council had not found that and had not questioned the mayor about it, regardless of the logistics and how it happened and all this stuff. If we had not found that, y'all would have crucified us on the radio if we'd have let that go back. And 5 years down the road, we didn't need that station, and we lost a $1.5 billion investment that the taxpayers made with bonded money because nobody knew that deed restriction was in that act of donation. Mm-hmm. Y'all would have crucified this council. We all wouldn't have been there, but you would have crucified. Why didn't the council know about this?
Right.
So what we're doing is taking our time. We have some real issues with the 2021 bond that we have to solve. And so I think that, and I think that the mayor and the CAO, that I've been on the phone with both of them about ideas and where we're going. I met with the police chief out at a location this week that I think is a good location. I think we're making progress. But as all these different issues start to pop their head up, there is a confidence level because we're the ones that are going to be held responsible, and we didn't have anything to do with it.
So for the 22nd, for you to vote yes to sell the bonds, what must be done? What does the mayor need? Do we need to have people started moving? Do we need to have a site chosen? What needs to be done in your eyes?
I think that we need to have the site chosen. I think we need to have this North Market issue cleared up. I think that there are several different aspects that need to be taken care of. I don't think that this, I don't think, and I don't think the mayor even said that this is hurting us right now. I don't think that this is delaying us much because if we do our homework up front, if we do what we're supposed to do up front in the long run, we're going to be better off. I mean, can you only imagine if we'd have built that station up there on North Market, if we'd have built that station, spent $1.5 or $1.8 million, and we decided 10 years down the road that the city wasn't growing north anymore or that we don't have the population to support that station and we're going to move property standards into it. And we move property standards into it, and the donor comes back and says, oh, I'm sorry, you can't do that. We're taking your building.
Now,
what would we have looked like at that point?
Would you be in favor of just turning that property back over to the North Shreveport Business Association?
I think that is the consensus of the council at this point. Yes.
So we've spent $200,000 on that property, and that's just money lost.
Well, I mean, the council didn't know what they were spending the money on. We didn't spend the money.
What if that clause? What if the clause is taken out of the deed? And we're talking about there's a clause in the deed for that donation that if the city doesn't use this property for police purposes for 25 years, the North Shreveport Business Association can come take the property back. If that clause is taken out of the deed, would you be in favor of moving forward with that as a substation?
I have a whole lack of confidence in that site at this point, just due to the fact of what is in there and that we were allowed to go this far. I'm not going to say no because I'm only one vote, and I may change my mind if that clause is taken out and we realize what happened here. Why was that signed? I mean, really, to be honest with you, we asked Mike Bossier at the meeting yesterday, could it be built there? And really, we can't build it there with the way that the bond is set up. So there's,
why not? Why not? Why can't it be built there?
Because we are indebting the city for a property that could actually be taken back. it has deed restrictions. Now, if you take the deed restrictions out and we get approval from the bond commission to be able to do it, then that may be a whole different ballgame. But you're asking me something on a bunch of speculative deals. If we get this done, if we get that done, I need to see proof that we are investing money like we told the taxpayers, and we're being good stewards of the taxpayer money. So I can't answer that question right now, but I would definitely look at it, yes.
I would just let you know, as originally from Baton Rouge, they shut down police substations back when I was, college age, because there were problems. So yeah, there has been a time cities have said, we don't need it for a police substation anymore. So you need to know you'll be long gone from the city council one day when maybe it's not needed for that purpose. So that deed restriction is important.
That's why we're doing what we're doing. We're doing what the citizens have asked the city of Shreveport. And it's so funny to me that the council now, all 7 of us, are trying to do what y'all have been begging us to do for 15 years. And we're doing it now, and it's a problem. We're holding up progress. We're doing this. We're being accountable, because how many times have I heard you on the radio, Aaron, over the last 10 or 15 years saying things that the council or the administration didn't dot their I's and cross their T's. Mm-hmm. We're trying to do that now, and now we've got people saying, and I mean, it's not everybody, but I mean, it's just like what Mike said, and I understand the concern, but that concern is in my opinion, that is a short-sighted. Right now, we want everything all right now. I mean, I want a new car right now, but I can't afford it because of the interest rates. But I want one really, really bad, and it makes me mad that I can't go get one. So that's short-sighted. But in the long run, I've got 0% interest on my car right now. Think of the money I'm saving and how much equity I'll have in my car when I go to trade it. Mm-hmm. That's the long run. Mm-hmm. So that's how we're looking at this. And I just, I want people to understand we're not holding up anything. We're not costing the city anything. All we're doing is trying to do our due diligence that y'all have begged us to do for years, and we're finally doing it, and we're getting blowback from that.
Grayson, you mentioned a moment ago you're just not comfortable with that current site. What would make you comfortable? In addition, is it just simply removing that caveat that the North Shreveport Business Association could take that property over, or are there other concerns?
Well, I've never liked the location of where it is. It's only a mile and a half from the police station, and I do think, to Aaron's point just a minute ago, that's probably going to be the first one to be closed. I also don't think that the council person that's in that district really had much input on where that needed to go in that district. I think that, from conversations that have been had since the deed came up, the best location for a North Shreveport substation would be somewhere in the Allendale area or in the MLK area, just due to the fact of the crime in those areas. I'm not, free land is free land, and I'm all for it. But we can't encumber that land with those deed restrictions and put taxpayer dollars in it. So, once we work through this, and I've been told by the mayor and the city attorney that they're coming up with some, and that's all they can do, at this point. But I do have a little bit of a lack of confidence in the location, and I also have a little bit of a lack of confidence that the deeds were signed prior to approval, like what the ordinance says. It says that the mayor, anything over $10,000 has to have approval of the council. And basically, I think this is another checks and balances that I think we're going to learn a lesson from. In the past mayors have had us ratify that, but that is a legal document once it's notarized. So it was notarized in June, but we didn't get it until July. And in the fact sheet that was sent to us, we didn't get a copy of this signed and executed deed.
You're saying the mayor signed it before y'all passed it?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. But from what I understand from people in government, this is something that's been going on for quite a while. And I said, this is a behind the doors meeting I had yesterday after council. This doesn't need to go on anymore. If the ordinance says that any donation, active donation over $10,000 has to be approved by the council, I'm not going to ratify a legal document that has already been signed. And they said, well, but it hadn't been recorded yet. That's not accurate. Any lawyer would tell you once that thing is signed and notarized, that is a legal document. Just because it didn't get recorded, so North Shreveport signed it in February. The mayor signed it in June. It came to the council for approval and was approved unanimously. But on our fact sheet, all it was a sheet thanking North Shreveport Business Association, telling us how big the tract of land was and what the use was going to be. It didn't say that there were deed restrictions. So he had signed a deed with deed restrictions, sends it to us without telling us what the deed restrictions are. We unanimously and graciously accepted their donation because we really appreciated it. And then we wait. It gets approved in August because it has a holdover that the mayor has to sign it, the council chairman has to sign it. And then it was actually the deed with this resolution or ordinance resolution, I think, was recorded at the clerk of court in September.
Wow.
So this process started in February, but the council had no knowledge of those deed restrictions. And that's why we're saying let's slow down just a little bit. We're making material mistakes. We've got an audit that said we made, 11, Aaron? 11, 12?
I think so, yeah.
I think there were 9.
Let's pump the brakes a second, because we've already found one screw up with the 2021 bond, because we were trying to move it along where we could get everybody on board for the 2024 bond. So that's all we're saying. So that to me is a big issue, that there is that huge of a stain on this piece of property now, and the whole part of it not being in a perfect location.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Grayson, we're up against the clock. Thanks for jumping on with us, and we do appreciate it.
Hey, did I sway you, Mike? I turn you around a little bit.
No, I do understand your position, and I appreciate it's not a petty political move. I recognize that. Sure.
No, it is not. I'm term limited out. The majority, Councilman Green's term limited out. This is absolutely nothing. I've heard what the voters and what you and everybody else has told us over the last 6 years, and that's all I'm trying to do is do the job that you elected me to do.
Grayson Butcher, Shreveport City Councilman. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Y'all have a good morning.
All right.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL, Mike and McCarty.
More breaking news and trending talk with Mike and McCarty on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL.
Ruben, there's a post that said one of the most depressing and scary films ever made is being shown on TV for only the 4th time ever tonight. Do you recognize that?
I most certainly recognize that. That's called Threads.
Threads?
It's a UK movie about post-nuclear war, and it is rough.
Okay, not going to watch it.
Yeah, I think I'll let that go then.
I'll go watch Titanic 2 again.
I can't even, yeah.
I forgot to look that up. I got to look that up. I've been watching Bond.
Oh, boy.
I've been going through the Bond films.
Nice.
So good. So good. If you missed our interview with Mayor Tom Arsenault, we will replay that in the 6 o'clock hour tomorrow morning. 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL.